Hey boys and girls, it's Mrs. Mosier signing in with you guys to go over lesson 26 on understand statistical questions, okay? So this is your assignment number 9, okay? And I'm going to explain this concept to you, explain the questions and the answers, okay? So as you have your document open from Google Classroom, you should first see this page, okay? And right now I'm just going to scroll down to where we have a little vocabulary. It says statistical questions. When you read all of this, we will learn that statistical questions have more than one answer. So right here in green, it says do not have an exact answer. You expect to get a variety of answers. So that means that you'll get more than one answer with that type of question. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right. Here in this red box, I have highlighted where it says statistical questions. That means that you get more than one answer. Okay. All right. So here is the think section. It says, what does it mean for a question to be statistical? And we have an example here, and over on our right, it says circle a statistical question where you might expect many different answers. So that's what we're going to do after we read this example. Okay, so we have Sasha here who's collecting some statistical information about the different sports that 6th graders at her school like to watch. She writes 3 questions to ask 50 6th graders, okay? And the results will help her to make a prediction about all 6th graders, all right? So I went ahead and highlighted she writes 3 questions to ask 50 6th graders because she's going to get a lot of different answers depending on what type of question that she asks, okay? So the first question says, when is the next home basketball game? Well, if somebody asks me that, I'm going to say Thursday. Or if we have Sasha here and she asks all 56 graders, all the 6th graders will say Thursday. So that's one answer. So that would be non-statistical, okay? Let's look at the second one. What is your favorite sport to watch? Okay. If she asks all 50 of these 6th graders that, she's going to get a variety of answers. So we would then say that that is statistical. Okay. So here I already have my circles. Okay. So the second question would be statistical. And remember the directions here. Okay. The third question, what was the last sports game you watched at this school? Okay. Well, if you're asking 56 graders, you're going to get a lot of different answers. Somebody may say, oh, well, I watch basketball. Somebody may say, well, I watch football. Somebody may watch soccer. So that's a variety of answers. So we would say that that is, whoops, excuse me, guys. We would say that that is statistical. Okay. And if you look down at the bottom, it says that the first question is not statistical and the last 2 questions are statistical because you get more than one answer, okay? Now, we look over on the next page and go read all that information. I do want you guys to read it. But if you look at the reflect question, it says explain the difference between a question that is statistical and one that is not. And I want you guys to think about it, okay? So have that in your mind because you may see that question again later this week, okay? All right, now looking at the next page, it says identifying statistical and non-statistical questions. All right, so now we're going to look at number 2. It says a political group asks voters waiting in line to vote, who are the 2 major candidates running for president this year? Now, we don't want you guys to literally answer the question. We just want you to be able to determine if it is statistical or non-statistical and then explain, okay? I say that this question is non-statistical, okay? Because if someone says to a group of people, who are the 2 major candidates, well, they're going to tell you 2 names and that's it, okay? So there's just one answer. That means that it's non-statistical, okay? So non-statistical means that you only get one answer. Statistical means that you get more than one answer, okay? So now let's look down at number 3. And make sure that you're writing this down, guys, because you do have to turn this assignment in. I'm simply going over all the questions and answers so that you guys can have some understanding of this skill. All right, number 3, the Journalism Club surveys students in the library and asks about how much time do you spend reading each day? Well, here it says students. We don't know how many, but we do know that's more than one. So each student that you ask is going to tell you a different time, okay? So with that type of question, you expect to get more than one answer, all right? So if you get more than one answer, remember we say that that is statistical, more than one answer, because your answers will vary depending on who you ask. Okay. Now let's take a look at number 4. It says to decide if a new movie should be shown this Friday, a movie theater invited 50 people to view the movie and answer the question, did you enjoy the movie? Okay, so I highlighted 50 people. All right, so 50 people were asked, hey, did you like this movie? And everybody's going to tell you something different. Okay, so if you get more than one answer, remember that that is statistical. Okay, you're going to get multiple answers from 50 people. Okay, does that make sense, guys? I sure hope so. All right, let's take a look at the next question. We have number 5. It says a 6th grader asked her guidance counselor how many clubs and sports are open to 6th graders at this school. So one 6th grader asked one guidance counselor how many clubs and sports are open to 6th graders. How many answers will you get? If you said 1, you are correct, okay? So that makes that non-statistical. You will only get one answer. There's no variability in the answers. Okay, one answer, non-statistical. Okay, now let's take a look down at number 6. All right, number 6, the directions tell us to write statistical questions. Write both a statistical and a non-statistical question. You could ask some classmates to make a prediction about teenagers and text messaging. Okay. So the topic here is teenagers and text messaging. So they want us to write a statistical question. So this is just something that I came up with. If you have another question that you would like to use instead of mine, then feel free. Okay. All right. So this is what I said for my statistical question. I said, well, if I'm talking about this context with teenagers and text messaging, I could say, how many texts do 8th graders send? Okay, and think about Hankins Middle School. We have like 250 8th graders. So if we ask all the 8th graders, that's 250 answers. And remember, if you get more than one answer, it is statistical. Okay, does that make sense? I sure hope so. All right, so now they also wanted a non-statistical question. Okay, and this is what I came up with. All right. So for non-statistical, I said, is text messaging allowed during class? All right. So class means that, hey, it's a classroom full of teenagers and we're still talking about text messaging. All right. So if I were to ask that question, either you would get a yes or no answer. Okay. So only one answer. That makes it non-statistical. Okay. Now let's look over at the next page. Okay. All right. So number 7 says, use an example from the previous page to explain what it means for a question to have statistical variability. And what that means, statistical variability, meaning that you have asked a question and you're able to collect data from it, or you get a question, or you have a question that yields various answers. Okay. So I used problem 4. All right, so let me just go back and look at problem 4 here. Okay. Problem 4 said, did you enjoy the movie? And 50 people were asked at the movie theater. Okay. So in problem number 4, there is variability because there is more than one answer if you ask 50 people. So you could use any example from the previous page from 2 through 5 to explain what it means if that question has statistical variability. So I just randomly chose number 4, and if I ask 50 people, I'm going to have a variety of answers. Okay, now let's take a look at number 8. Okay, it says, look at problems 2 through 5. How could you change one of the non-statistical questions so that it is statistical? Explain. So now I'm going to look back at numbers 2 through 5 to see which ones are non-statistical. Okay, number 2 is non-statistical, and number 5 is non-statistical. Okay, so if it's non-statistical, they want you to make the question statistical. So let's take a look. All right, so the question that I chose was number 2. It's the first one. Okay, so I said to change it to a statistical question, we would say, who will you vote for president, instead of the non-statistical question saying, who are the candidates? Okay, because you're only going to say 2 names. Okay, that's just one answer. But if I say, who will you vote for president, all of those people are going to tell me something different if I'm at the voting booth. Okay. And you can just go back and read that. A political group asks voters. Okay, so if I ask that same group of voters, they're all going to tell me different answers. Okay, all right, and then let's take a look at number 9. It says, look at the questions you wrote in problem 6. Explain why the answers do or don't have variability. Here we can go back to number 6. Okay, these are the 2 questions that we created. The first one was statistical. How many texts do 8th graders send? And non-statistical is text messaging allowed during class. Okay. My statistical question is going to give me various answers. If I sit there and I ask 8th graders, all 250, how many text messages do you send? Each 8th grader is going to tell me a different answer. Okay, so that means that the answers will vary. My non-statistical question, is text messaging allowed during class? I'm either going to get a yes or a no. Okay, so no variability, just one answer. Okay, let's look at try it another way. On number 10, it says Mia surveyed her classmates to make a prediction about kids her age. Okay, here we have a table. It says the hours compared to the number of students. And then it says, which could be a question Mia asked? Explain. Okay, so they give us 3 questions here. And we have to be able to interpret the data that we see in this table. Okay. So which one of those 3 could be a question that Mia asked? Is it how many people do not watch TV? No, because those hours tell me differently. Is it how many TV shows do you watch regularly? Well, if they're just talking to me, I wouldn't have all these various numbers of people. And then let's look at this one. Is it about how long do you spend watching TV every day? Well, if you look at the groups and how many hours they spend each day, we would say that Mia asked that question. So let me close this screen shade. Okay, so I have here that Mia asked about how long do you spend watching TV every day. We know this because of the data she is using to make a prediction. Okay, so make sure you get all of this information that I'm providing with you guys copied down in your notes or typed on your Google Docs so that you can turn this assignment in. Okay, if you need to pause the video, then pause it. All right, now let's go on to page 280. All right. So we're still identifying statistical questions. Number 11, compare. Which question is statistical and which is not? Explain how you know. So we have our 2 questions here. What is your favorite Olympic sport to watch? When are the next Olympic Games? Okay, so we have to see which one is statistical and which one is non-statistical. Okay, what do you guys think? I agree. So let's see what I have, okay? I say that the first question is statistical, Okay, so you guys are smart cookies. Way to go, guys. And the reason why, because remember that keyword says explain, okay, is because you will get various answers. What is your favorite Olympic sport to watch? Well, a lot of people are going to tell me various answers, okay? The second question is non-statistical. When are the next, excuse me, guys. Let me bring this down, okay? When are the next Olympic Games? Well, somebody say, oh, well, they're going to come on in November. Well, I'm only going to get one answer, okay? So second question is non-statistical, only one answer, okay? You guys are doing so great. All right, let's take a look at number 12, okay? It says, analyze which is a better statistical question to ask your classmates if you are interested in finding out which movies sixth graders enjoy watching. Explain, okay? So here we are. What is the most recent movie you saw? What are 3 of your favorite movies? Okay, so they want to know, well, we know that both of these questions are statistical, but I want to know which one is the better one to find out which movie sixth graders enjoy watching, okay? And remember that keyword explain, all right? So I am going to go with the second one, okay? I will get more data so that I can make a prediction and see what my data collection looks like with the second question, okay? What are 3 of your favorite movies? Is a better statistical question because the answer will give a list of various movies, okay? So the second one is the better statistical question to ask if you're trying to find out what kind of movie sixth graders like, okay? So just think about that, pause, marinate, re-ask yourself, analyze that data, and that just means to break it down, okay? Analyze means to break it down. All right, so if I want to know what all sixth graders like or most, then I would ask about the 3 favorite movies, okay? All right, and then we have one more question. All right, it says predict, and that means to tell what you think will happen, all right? Which statistical question will result in more variability? So one that's going to give you more answers or a lot of answers, okay? Which one will give you more variability, okay? We know that they are statistical questions, meaning that they're going to give you more than one answer, but we want to know which one's going to give you the bigger variety. And then there's that keyword explain, okay? The first one says, do you own a scooter and or bicycle? The second one says, about how many hours per week do you participate in sports, okay? So which one do you think is going to give you more variability or more answers? Aha, that is correct, okay? If you guys said that the second question will give you more variability, you are absolutely correct, okay? The second question gives you more variability in your answers, okay? That is absolutely correct, okay? So this is the end of the assignment for instruction lesson 26. Your next assignment will be the student practice pages for lesson 26. And remember, you will do that one on your own independently. You may refer back to this video. You may refer back to this assignment for understanding, okay? But please go back, rewatch this video. Make sure that you get all of these answers recorded. Make sure that you are able to explain the difference between a statistical question and a non-statistical question, okay? All right, remember, as always, if you have any questions, feel free to message me on Google Classroom and I'll get right back with you as soon as possible. This assignment will be available on Wednesday, April the 29th, and it is due by 11:59 p.m. April the 29th, okay? So get this work taken care of. Message me on Google Classroom if you need me. All right, guys, and that's it. Bye-bye.